one thing is so that it will be comparable to other governmental financial reports for comparative purposes and things of that nature. I'll be glad to, if y'all want to talk about the numbers themselves, balance sheets, income statements, budgets, be glad to go through that. I'll talk just a little bit about, what the audit entails. I would say that we're required to audit in accordance with government audit standards, and that requires a report in the back on internal control and compliance. That report has no findings in it. And of course, it is basically involves transactions that we pull as we are conducting the audit. We look at certain attributes of these transactions. And if it's an anomaly there, we will pull more transactions, but we want to get an idea, are certain controls in place to ensure that these transactions are properly recorded and reported in these financial statements. And all of our test work, we didn't note any kind of underlying systemic internal control problem. So that report shows no kind of controls or compliance issues. And the report that is on page 62, I guess I'm starting my presentation here, but going to the back of the report, but page 61 and 62 is the reporting on the major program. And I believe that was a downtown enhancement grant, the majority of the federal money. That was over $700,000, and that is reflected on page 58. There's a schedule there of federal awards, so you can see there. But anyway, this I see it's pulled up there at 762,000, but the total federal awards is 768. So just barely went over the 750,000 threshold, but it did go over. Which necessitated pages 61, 62, 63, and 64. Also, with this single audit, we're required to submit it to the Federal Clearinghouse. So it has to be submitted and go through the process of going into that Federal Clearinghouse, and they review it there as well. But the compliance work we did on the controls, with the federal money, there was no findings there either. Everything looked fine. So that's starting to the first report and jump into the reports in the back. Pages 9 and 10 start the government-wide financial statements. And I remember talking to you about this in times past, and maybe some of the members wasn't on the board. If you want me to go over this in more detail, I will be more than happy to. Pages 9 and 10 is government-wide, where it pulls every fund in on the same basis of accounting. It's called the full accrual basis. And without this, all that's on the full accrual basis of accounting is proprietary funds. The water, gas, the sewer funds is on the full accrual, but your governmental funds is on the modified accrual. So page 10 that's in front of us, by going to the full accrual, all the fixed assets that's in the government funds, like the fire trucks, the police cars, city hall, all of that, the depreciation is calculated, and it's also allocated by government activity. So much, and there's a breakdown to how that's allocated in the depreciation in the notes on depreciation of what, which one of these government activities that this goes to. So there's more information about it in the notes to the financial statements, but basically it's a reflection of the total cost of operating public safety or public works on just what it costs the citizens in Somerville, to have public safety. And that's just one example. And over to the right, for each one of these activities, here's the revenues that they generate internally. So we come up with a net cost to have these activities underneath the government activity. You see all those negatives, that's the fifth column over. That's the net cost that must be borne by taxpayers. Usually it's taxes that cover the cost of operating the general government and public safety. So if you drop straight down, you look at the property taxes, the in lieu of taxes, the ad valorem taxes, sales tax, the kind of taxes that have to come in the citizens pay in one form or the other, so that these services can be provided. So over time, these two, the pages 9 and page 10, has provided a lot of information on the same basis of accounting as the proprietary funds has always had ever since I've been doing this. And so it's very helpful for people that's issuing bonds and helping management determine the cost, and citizens as well, of the cost that's involved. We've had some cities that dissolved their police departments. It wasn't because of GASB 34 that we're looking at, but it was because of cost that they just felt like, was more than what the little town could bear. So this helps portray exactly the cost that's involved in these government activities. Now, if you start on page 11, here's the breakdown on the basis of accounting that's done every day at City Hall. And it's on the same basis that budgets are passed. And this is a modified accrual. So when you buy a fixed asset for police department or fire department, it's not depreciated. It goes as capital outlay, and it's all expensed in that 1 year. And so the full impact of that cost is recognized right then. So what we have here is exactly the way you've budgeted. Here's the cash that existed in general funds. The other non-major governmental funds, there's a breakdown of those at State Street Aid, and I don't remember if the other drug is a drug fund, but there's a further breakdown. But here's the cash and the taxes, the assets of these funds, and the related short-term liabilities, which is basically accounts payable and so forth. So the attempt in this manner of accounting is, when you look down at your fund balance, it shows the reader how much is available, what kind of assets is available to be expended in 1 year. So this gets down to, liquidity. It shows what's available. It may not be cash. Of this unassigned general fund balance of $1,333,000, very clearly a little over $1 million, that is cash. But $472,000 is taxes receivable, the majority of which is expected to be collected within this 1 year time frame. And so with grants receivable and so forth. So that's the purpose of this modified accrual, to show what's available basically to be budgeted within the next year. The next page starts that's the bridge between the modified accrual and the full accrual. And that ties back into your net position over on the balance sheet. I think it's on page 9. But the next page is going to show us the income statement that is on the modified accrual, the budget basis, shows all the revenues that's allocated for taxes and intergovernmental, and also the expenditures by department, and the capital outlay is $1,286,000 went out as capital outlay. If this was on a full accrual, that wouldn't be there. That all went to a fixed asset on the balance sheet. And then there was $28,000 on debt service. Of course, that would also be a balance sheet item on full accrual. Transfers in, there's a note in the back that shows exactly that's ad valorem tax, in lieu of tax, between the water, sewer, and gas funds, that makes up that $75,000. So we had a positive increase under the general fund of $108,000 that added to the fund balance that existed at the beginning of the year. of $1,257,000. Now it's $1,366,000. The next page is going to reflect a bridge between this modified accrual and page 10 that we just looked at on the full accrual. And here you see the fund balance, or the net change in fund balance, went up 109,000 on the modified basis. And if under the full accrual basis, it went up 982,000. And all these lines in between shows you what made up that change. For whatever, you know, if you looked at it, you see your depreciation would have been $400,000 had you been on full accrual basis. Page 15 then gets into the, you know, line items. It gets into the detail behind the summary numbers that we just looked at. And so I won't go through those unless you have questions or unless you want me to go through those. But if you'll notice where it says total revenues, and you can flip back over to page 13 and you'll see that ties into tax revenue. Underneath intergovernmental revenue of $1,120,000, you flip back over to page 13 and you'll see intergovernmental revenues will be $1,120,000. So it's a tie-in to those consolidated numbers that we just looked at. But this is comparing budget to actual adjusted numbers at the end of the year that we audited. And that goes on all the way through page 19. And at the end of page 19, we wind back down to this net change in fund balance, third line up from the bottom of $108,000 that we just looked at in that comprehensive statement. So this, of all the revenues that came in, all the expenditures that went out in the general fund, it increased $108,000. Page 20 is the proprietary funds. Here we got full accrual. Here you're gonna have your fixed assets, you're gonna have your debt, you have a full classified balance sheet showing you everything on a full accrual basis. So it too shows you the net assets. It's unrestricted down toward the bottom. And each one of these funds, except solid waste, has got over $1 million in unrestricted net assets. And it's, you know, there's a carve out for the fixed assets, net investment in capital assets. That's your total capital assets less the debt that relates to it. So that's not something that's liquid. You know, it's not anything that can be used in the year that's coming up or the next several years that's coming up. So that's why there's a differentiation made right there. Page 21, income statement of these proprietary funds. Third line from the bottom, net change and change in net position. Some folks think of that as net income, if you will. It's not exactly. It's an increase in the net position. Operating income is about middle ways. That's really how each one of these proprietary funds, how profitable they were, and how much the revenues exceeded their expenses. And then below it's non-operating revenue expenditure. Below that's capital contributions that come in, transfers out. You'll notice the total of that is the transfers out is $75,456. That's the amount we just looked at was transferred into the general fund. So, but anyway, the total of all those proprietary funds, total increase for those for the year is $451,000. Page 22 is going to be our statement of cash flows that reconciles or reflects the operating increase that we just looked at into the cash position. What happened to cash what happened to the checking accounts? And you can have a large increase in that position and actually run in the red as far as your checking accounts is concerned. And here's why. You can spend all your money on fixed assets or spend it all on paying off debt or whatever. This statement of cash flows reflects all that. So right almost to the middle, you'll see net increase or decrease in cash and cash equivalents. Now, cash equivalent basically is going to be like a CD that's on its origination date. It's going to be less than 90 days to maturity. Now, that's counted as a cash equivalent. I don't know. I can't recall that Somerville had any of those. Basically, this is going to be checking accounts. But water increased 85,000, sewer 208,000, natural gas decreased. The checking account went down 132,000. You look up, a few lines, and you can see there's $800,000 in natural gas that was spent or that was expended for fixed assets. So, that was a big reason why the cash went down like it did. And cash went down in the solid waste by 33,000. Now we've got cash at the beginning of the year that we add to that, and it shows you the cash equivalents at the end of the year. So all those are in the black, but it shows you what happened in the checking accounts for those funds during the course of the year. The next section starts on page 23. It's the notes to these financial statements. These notes, I told you at the front that we audit these financial statements to ensure that they are in conformity with government accounting standards. Well, those standards require certain notes. And so we've got a large disclosure checklist that we go through and make sure that the notes conform and that everything's required in these notes are there. And so when GASB 68 came out and you had all this pension information that had to be disclosed, that was part of it. And so I don't know if y'all may want to look through it. These notes go from page 23 basically to page 40, 41. They cover changes in fixed assets. They cover changes in debt. I might flip through here and just point a few of them out. It's got a lot of information to do with the pension that's in place for the city and liabilities associated with that pension. And if I remember right, the overall, page 32 is the fixed assets for the government funds, and 33 is for the business funds. But I told you the depreciation is allocated on those different government activities. That's on page 32. If you remember, I showed you whether you had $400,000 of depreciation that was put in that government fund. And top of page 32 shows you how it's allocated to the general fund, public safety, public works, and so forth. So page 33 is the change in fixed assets for the proprietary funds. Starting at the bottom of that page goes into several pages having to do with disclosure on the pension plan. Page 36 is part of that disclosure. You see that negative $199,000. It's one of these strange times where a negative number is actually a positive thing. That's an asset. You look at the top, net pension in brackets, it's got asset. So at the end of the year, now again, this is a little oddity. These actuarial reports come out 1 year behind. So we're really looking at June 30, 19, but it's reported on June 30, 2020 financial. But the city had their net pension. They didn't have liability, they had net pension asset of $199,000. Now, if you drop right down to that middle column, it says current discount rate of 7.25%. You'll notice those two numbers match each other, the 199,018. The assumption of the actuaries was that's the rate that they used was 7.25%. And so, and there's a little bit of information above that that shows that's what they did. If reality is 8.25%, the net asset's going to jump up to $1,033,000. If it doesn't make 7.25%, if it's 1% lower at 6.25%, then you go into a liability of 808,000. So you see how fast the situation at Somerville could change as far as its pension plan is concerned, based upon this changing actuarial assumptions, and that has a lot to do with the return on the investments that this plan is in. So I just wanted to point that out. Page 37, some more of this actuarial information that is reflected in the balance sheet. This deferred outflow resources, deferred inflow of resources. On that balance sheet we looked at, the government-wide, I think it's on page 9, you'll see these numbers that are recorded. We make adjustments and get those numbers in there in the respective places where they go, that shows deferred outflows and deferred inflows, and all has to do with information on this pension plan. So I might drop back just a little bit and mention to you, when we audit to render an opinion on the fairness of the financials. So we're looking to see if there's any errors. Now, error can result, if there's any misstatements, it can result from an error or it can result from fraud. And so our risk of audits of a misstatement goes up whenever there's a new standard that's passed. And so when this pension standard passed, we knew that practically every audit that we've got that has pensions, there's going to be misstatements there, that we were going to need to come in and make the adjustments to record these deferred inflows and deferred outflows. And so that's something that we look at, and on an ongoing basis, is to make sure that these pensions are recorded as the actuarials have projected them in the financials, I mean on the records, and are in these financial statements that you are looking at here tonight. Page 38 and 39, information about the debt, and the debt is broken out between the governmental types and the business type activities. That's on the top of page 39. You can see the change, the additions and retirements in the GO bonds, the revenue bonds. And there's a lot of breakdown in the back on notes, on amortization schedules that we've prepared and included in the back of these financial statements. If those numbers tie into these numbers, it's on page 39, and these numbers tie in to the ones that we looked at on page 9, and also on the proprietary balance sheets. Right after the general fund that we looked at. Page 40, information, detail on interfund transactions and balances, due tos and due froms in between different funds. Page 42 and 43 is tables of information on the pension plans. And I think we got it worked up now to six years. This eventually going up to 10 years. So it gives 10 years of information on the pensions.
I personally don't want to give you 6 years, or however the fuck long you want, and I'm going to steal all your money, just know that.
Excuse me, I couldn't understand.
I'm going to steal your money.
It's just somebody hacked in.
Oh,
No,
okay.
there's more than just one of us, trust me.
All right. Let's see.
Somebody just have to kick him out.
Don't underestimate us. For real.
Page 45 is the balance sheet on the combined non-major funds that I showed you the combined and told you there's further breakdown in the back. And this is it, the balance sheets and the income statements of the State Street Aid and the drug funds. That goes through page 48. 49 and 50 is information that's unaudited, that's supplied by the city, that has to do with the water loss, water pumping. Page 51 is a schedule of changes in the property taxes receivable. And then on 52 and 53 and 54 is amortization schedules, and 55 is amortization schedules of debt that I mentioned to you was in the back of the report. Page 56, new, fairly new, I think this may be the second year, GASB 88, requiring a breakdown of debt. And of course, a lot of this, all of it pretty much is reflected in the notes. And that's on page 56. 57, utility rates in force, and 58 is schedule of federal awards and state financial assistance that we talked about earlier. And then after that is the reports that we've already talked about. So that's an overview of the audit or the financial statements. There's not a whole lot of information on the audit itself as far as how we conduct and what we do and what we test. And I'll be glad to get into any of that, but that's an overview. And I guess I'll just answer any questions that you may have.
Does anybody have any questions? Other than the guy who showed up uninvited?
Mark, Mike French.
Yes, sir.
The inflows and the outflows on the pension. The inflows are what is contributed by the employees and the town of Somerville, and the outflows are the benefits going to the retirees. Am I correct on that?
You talking about deferred inflows and deferred outflows?
Yes.
Let me refer you to page 37, please, sir. That seems like a very reasonable, and that would be the same thing way I would interpret it, Mr. French. But actuarially, they've got all different view on this whatsoever. Completely.
Okay.
It really has to do with what they call the experience method, where they're projecting cost of living increases, where they're projecting lifespans. So it has something to do with the actual earnings versus of the pension versus what they expected it to be. There's the third line down, changes in assumptions. They've got several different kind of assumptions they make. One's called the frozen liability method, and I don't remember all the methods they have, but when they change that, that's reflected on on line 3, excuse me, right there. And then contribution subsequent to measurement date. So that's actually what makes up deferred outflows and deferred inflows. And what an employee contributes to it is the amount that had been contributed is shown on the balance sheet at year end. Now, the amount that the city matches is shown in that detailed level of expenditures we looked at on the budget, the line item budget. You'll be able to find on it the amount that the city itself has contributed in each one of those departments. But really, those two things don't impact it's not reflected in deferred outflows and deferred inflows, even though it sounds like it would be. And didn't you work at Memphis did you work in accounting over in Memphis area?
I worked at the city of Memphis.
All right, what I said to say, up into about 5 years ago, there was no such thing as deferred outflow or deferred inflow. It was just on a balance sheet, you had assets, liabilities, and equity, and that was it. And
Right.
then they come up with these two new classes. Now, they're neither assets nor their liabilities, but they are part of the balance sheet.
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
You answered my question, even though I didn't ask.
I
the right
answered it, even though it's a complicated thing. I know it.
question. Even though I didn't know the right question to ask. Thank
Well,
you.
Mr. French, let me refer you to page 16.
Okay.
It's just a small example, I guess. Under the building department, it just caught my eye because I was trying to find something this for you. The third line down under building department, there's salaries and payroll taxes, and then there's retirement. And there's $1,731 budgeted for retirement cost and $814 expended. That $814 is just the city's portion in that department of what the city paid. But it doesn't reflect what was withheld out of the employee's check. But either one of those two doesn't directly, it might indirectly, but it's not going to directly impact deferred inflows or deferred outflows.
Right, and right now, our portion is 6.09% of the payroll.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir, Mr. French.
Any other questions? Okay. We appreciate you presenting the audit. I assume if anybody has any questions that Bob can answer on this audit, that they're free to contact you. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So if there's no other questions, we will conclude that part of the presentation. And we appreciate you attending. Glad to see that you're well enough to attend.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much.
Well, good.
It's okay if I leave now.
It certainly is, but I don't know why you wouldn't want to stay for this exciting meeting that we're having.
Well, I'd be happy to, but I'm going to try to leave it with you folks. And I would like to say, as far as you saying about contacting me if there's any questions, and I meant to say this at the beginning of my presentation, I'm here as a representative. I'm hired by the board. You know, I represent the board. I'm reporting to the board. I'm an agent that's acting in behalf of the board. And so, absolutely, by all means, if you have any questions, anything you want to go over, that's why you hired me. So I'm more than happy to help in any way that you would have any question.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Okay, we will start with, do we still have the Zoom bomber around, or did he leave? Or
I threw him out, but I don't know if he'll be back or not.
Okay,
I think I was able to report him, but I don't know.
that's the first time that's happened.
Yeah, it's
So,
weird.
Mhm.
Did anybody else see the little Nazi symbol on their screen? Or
Yes, that was weird.
Yeah,
That
Yeah,
was strange,
I seen
scary.
an attempt to draw a Nazi symbol. Or you
Lord.
attempted to do. Idiot.
okay,
Mayor, Jeep is here, would like to talk about his section. So if we could move to number 4, that would really help him. So he could get
Sure.
out of here. Let's do.
sure.
Okay.
Number 4 on the agenda, Public Works, review the manager's report and the monthly report. Anything you need to point out there?
No, sir. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay.
What I'm here for tonight is to ask the mayor and the board to consider hiring 2 extra people right now, and I'll talk to you at a later date about hiring a third 1st of July. The need is there now for 2 extra guys in the gas and meter department. You all know how large we're growing. I had a map that I'd sent to Bob. It's 166 square miles of coverage area. You know, our gas department is very large, and we're rapidly approaching 10,000 meters. That includes water and gas. This last year, we put in 276 services. We put in over 5.5 miles of just service line. That's not including all of our new mains and stuff. We've done almost 4,000 811 locates all over this 166 square mile coverage area. Part of the reason that I'm asking this is, you know, there's 20 of us. There's 20 folks working for Public Works. 6 of them are Tony's guys that don't really fall into this category. Jennifer really doesn't fall into this category. These other guys, a fourth of those guys have been here over 23 years. It's a lot of time. They have a lot of time under their belt, and you know, we're starting to become an older utility. It takes roughly 3 years to train a good gas man. It takes 6 to 8 months before we'll even consider OQing a gas guy. We have 2 right now that, you know, we had thought maybe we could rush it a little bit and do it in 6 months. And we determined that that's just not long enough. Once you've OQ'd someone, they go on call and they'll be by themselves. And it's just not enough time. There are 24, 26 skills that they have to master and pass tests to become OQ'd. This is just gas. Besides putting in services, these folks have to paint meters. They have to learn how to do the odorant tests. They do creek crossings. They do rectifier testing. They have to check all their casing and vents. They have 150 critical valves to turn. That's not counting the other 800 valves that have to be visited. They take care of all our gas leaks and repairs. That's just some of the gas stuff. Meter reading, which, you know, it sounded really good a few years ago that we get rid of our meter readers. Well, we knew that wasn't gonna be accurate. James and Paul are by themselves pretty much covering this 166 square mile coverage area. James is one of those guys that's been here 20 plus years. He has done an excellent job teaching this younger man what has to be done daily, weekly, and monthly. Just a small and you know, a lot of this stuff James had to learn
On the fly.
By himself and figure it out. And now he's a computer guy now, and this is our bread and butter, guys. This is what determines. This is how we get our revenue. They take care of all the customer service orders. They unlock and inspect all the new services, maintain and repair the gas The ERTs, an ERT is what reads our meters for us and sends us back the information. That's water and gas. They take care of all the meter boxes. They check on customer complaints. They check bill usages. They monitor meters that don't have any usage. They check the system's status reports for collector and repeater problems, which right now I've got 2 collectors that are in Wyoming somewhere being repaired. So that means more work, although we can drive it and do it, but you cannot drive our system in a day. And you may not be able to do it in 2 days. Every other week, this is all through James. The first and third week of the month, meter reading and rechecks. If we have unusual usage, those 2 guys go out and physically look at these meters and find out what's going on with them. And we're seeing meter failure now. So these guys are the ones fixing it all. They spot water meters. When we have new services, they install and program every ERT on every meter. Later on in the meeting, Bob's going to ask for permission to buy another 150 plus meters. We are extremely busy, and the time is now for us to train new people. We have 16 developments right now going on in Oakland. 16 in and around Oakland. That's not counting the new stuff that's fixing to take place here in Somerville. So I'm asking you to consider going ahead and hiring 2 more people for the gas and maintenance departments and meter departments right now. And I will be asking again in June, July, because we have that same problem going on in wastewater. We need to get someone else trained. And if you have any questions, you want to talk about any of it, please let me know. Thank you.
Okay, does anybody have any questions?
I agree. I think we do need people in there and for the training purposes. And I think it would be a good thing to add 2 more right now, because there is a lot of building going on.
I agree with that.
Mayor Mike French.
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to say that, I will not vote against these 2 positions, but this should be done at budget time. That's when you say what you need for the year. And this growth just did not start July the 1st. And I don't like to see us add or delete positions in mid-year. It should be done at budget time. But if everyone wants these, I will vote for them also. I understand that it was probably needed July the 1st. And I don't think we ought to wait till July the 1st. If it needs a 3rd one, we need to add the 3rd one now. Thank you.
I agree. I think that a lot of the growth, a lot of in these subdivisions has occurred since we did the budget. Am I mistaken?
I think a lot of it is, it's just been going crazy the last couple of months, last 6 months.
Right.
Right.
But it was before budget.
It was basically not really anticipated to this level at budget time.
Right.
Back during the COVID thing when nothing was going on. And, we were doing COVID, everybody was on lockdown hiding in their closet in last May,
Right.
So, I mean, stuff has just gone crazy since then. Interest rates are really ridiculously low. I don't know. People are buying land in Oakland and all over the place without even knowing if the services are available, just because, they want to build houses so fast. But you see Nicholas Place and we're just compared to Oakland, you know, we don't have any development like that.
Right.
And you can see how fast they've already got people living in hedgerows in those new houses. So
Right.
Well, and look at Nicholas Place. They're already
Yeah.
bought. I mean, you
Right.
they're
know,
already sold. Yes. So
And then the other subdivision over there on the down from or
Bluff
up
Creek.
the road from yeah. I mean that thing has grown by leaps and bounds too.
well, it's sold out. You know, that
Right.
there are more lots available in there.
I mean, and these houses are 6 months old. Some, I mean, and not between brand new and 6 months. I
Right.
think most of them happened after the budget time.
Yeah.
A lot of them did. Yes, ma'am.
Well, there's 400 plus houses set to be built. The lots are being platted right now in Oakland.
really.
Yes, ma'am. And even if it all stops in the next 3 months, we're still a 166 square mile system. We are still an aged utility. And, you know, I apologize, Mr. French, for not anticipating some of this stuff, but man, it's kind of mind boggling at the progress each day. It's a new developer calling every day.
Jeep, I don't think you could have foreseen this happening.
I don't think so.
I don't think you could have foreseen it.
And I'll tell you what, it's not just Somerville, it's Fayette County. If anybody wants to build in Fayette County, and I don't care what road it is in Fayette County, they better be buying the property now, because you can't turn down any road in this county and there's not 5 new houses.
Absolutely.
Either just the foundation's been poured, or looks like they're move-in ready almost. But this land in Fayette County is fixing to be gone.
Yeah.
Well, we lost a couple of employees, recently, and they were valued employees. One of them was our locator. As I stated earlier, we've almost done 4,000 locates in 1 year. 4,000.
Unreal.
It's unreal.
Another one was a longtime employee. They went to Memphis Contract Packaging. As I mentioned, some of our employees have been here many years and anticipating retirement dates, and this other, it's a little difficult to project. We don't know when it might be. It could be tomorrow. And while we have the valuable resource and teaching tools that we have, I think that we'd be foolish not to take advantage of that asset right now.
And we need to be training people,
Yes, ma'am.
which I know you're
We've
doing.
got good people here to do it.
We have
to do
good
the training.
people, and I think we need to have some more backup, because our system is big. And I think it needs to, I agree, Jeep, I'm all for you, kiddo.
How soon do you think you can get these 2 guys to work?
I'm sorry, could you ask that again?
How soon can you hire these 2 guys if it's approved? Can you get them trained and get them to work?
Mr. Hamilton, it would we are set to everyone that is OQ'd right now, including myself on some of this stuff, because we're all having to work and help during connections and applications and all that stuff. So even I go through the OQ training, not all 24 tasks, 26 tasks, but the entire staff is set to be OQ'd in October of this year. So if we could, that was another reason, Mr. French, that I felt like I needed to ask now rather than wait, because of the time frame.
They have to be re-OQ'd every 3 years. So they have to be requalified every 3 years and go through the full training every 3 years. So
That's what I was asking.
this October is
Can
a year period. So Alan.
Can
and
you get,
way down to the bottom guy has to be re-OQ.
that's what I'm asking is, can you get some people in fairly soon to get them trained
I
and to
think
get
so.
them on the job? I mean, or
Well,
do
the
you have
sooner the
anybody
better.
in mind or
The
anything
longer
like
we
that?
wait, the longer we wait, the longer it'll take for them to be trained. And if they're all trained together, it makes it a little easier on especially the new guys.
Yeah.
The older guys, the guys that have been here for a long time are into this, man. They're helping. We have two fairly young men right now that are, the only way that you can get hands-on training in this industry right now is to be with those young men. And every day you've got them with you. They're in your truck and you're talking to them and you're working with them. And, so the sooner the better.
Mr. Lofty, I say if the budget were permitted, we can go ahead and start applications.
Yes, sir.
I say get the 3 so we can get them OQ'd by October.
Are we gonna have to make a budget amendment?
No, in the utilities, we're not really required to have a budget amendment on this.
Okay,
long as
well, I'm
in
all
the
for it then. I'm with Miss Judy as well. If he's gonna need another one by July, June or July, we might as well go on and get that person in as well and get them trained in the respective department. And that way everybody is on, all the employees are in line to get trained every 3 years and when they need to be. I agree with Miss Judy.
All right, if you would put that on the agenda for Monday night,
Yes, sir.
and further discussion at that point, I assume.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Matt.
We will go back to number 1, finance. Do you have anything you need to point out?
No, sir. If there are any questions?
Does anyone have any questions about the financial statements that were included in your packet? Okay, review list of expenses, line item overruns.
Like I said before, there are a few new ones on here. Everything with the pink or orange highlighting will go away once we do the budget amendment.
I
So
don't see any orange highlighting.
you don't see any orange highlighting on the screen
No,
over here where it says, so all the general fund items will go away, Mayor.
no, that's not orange.
What color is it on yours?
It's a black,
Flesh.
Like peach?
beige, something. It's not
Beige?
orange. I know
Whatever.
orange. It's not
Whatever
orange.
color that is.
Well, I was looking
Ready,
for orange.
ready.
This looks like a
It's-
suntan.
Yeah,
If you
It's on
stayed
the
out there
orange.
too long.
It's on the orange
Yeah.
palette on the little
Don't
thing.
do that, Judy.
Mm. It's too cold.
are there any questions on that? Okay, capital projects and purchases.
Right, and we're still working on everything, working through everything. The tasers are on tonight's agenda. And that's about it. The sidewalk, looks like the sidewalk to the UT Martin will probably start sometime, probably around July, as far as the actual project itself. So probably bidding in June and starting in July or early August. So anyway, that's kind of where we are on that one. We're still kind of behind on the Death Triangle one because of an issue with the NEPA, which is the environmental phase of the project. So they were slow because of COVID, and that kind of put us back. But everything else is moving along. The chief is working on his computer system, and that we ought to have some information for you by April. Hopefully we can get in this year's budget. If not, we'll have to defer it till next year's budget. And some of that other stuff is on the agenda tonight. The roofing project at UT Martin, that's on the agenda tonight. gas phase 7 is complete. We're on hold on the remodel of Midland because I just can't figure it out, and bought the vehicles, and we're waiting, still gathering information on the Mini X. So that's where we are.
Okay, any questions on that? Sales tax,
Here's the sales tax. Yes. Yes, this month is about the average for the last, since the beginning of the year. So you can see what that looks like. Actually, since the beginning of March, it's about that average. So it's still rolling along. You see, we budgeted 440 and we're at 401 already after 7 months.
okay, any questions on that?
And then this is the, Mendy's been working on this, keeping track of the online sales. That's right now, it looks to be 27% of our sales tax came from online sales this month. So Mr. Soros is doing very well.
Who?
The owner of Amazon.
Well, it's not Soros.
It's not Soros. What is his name?
No, that's
Bezos.
Bezos.
Bezos. Yes, thank you.
Bezos.
I hope
Bezos.
ain't no Soros.
Sorry. Bezos.
Well, I'm sure he's connected with Soros.
He just announced today that he's given up the CEO job.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
50 billion, he ought to be okay, set for a while.
You ought to be able to retire.
Yeah, I think he'd be okay.
Next item, before this deteriorates too much, ordinance 2021-03. Ordinance amending the budget. This is
Right.
probably the largest budget amendment that we have ever even thought about.
Well, sorry, but we did have some issues
Who knew?
because of COVID.
Who could tell when we were doing the budget in COVID? Who knew what was going to happen?
Right.
Any questions on that?
What is the orange? I mean, the suntan?
Those were the changes I made this time.
Okay.
I had to increase a couple because actually in the revenue, I had to increase some revenues
Yeah.
because we're already at 20,000 in permits. So, I had to make sure we had enough in the revenue. And anyway, and then I made sure the expenses were in line and so forth.
Okay.
So I changed just a few things around to make it all work out.
Okay.
Are there any questions? Okay, we'll move that on to the board. The budget calendar.
It's the same as last year. I just changed the dates. So today is authorizing the budget procedures. I mean, Monday will be authorizing the budget procedures.
Okay. Any questions on that? All right. That will be on the consent calendar, I assume. Letter of engagement for Godwin and Associates. This is.
So yes, sir. I got a letter of engagement from Mr. Godwin. It's the same cost as last year, for actually the last 3 years combined. So it's the same price as $30,000. We did go a little over this year because of that individual audit that we had to have, that special audit for the. We were about $12,000 over the minimum. I mean, their maximum requirement for that audit. So anyway, sorry.
Okay. Any
That's-
questions on that? All right, if you would put that consent agenda.
Okay.
Reviewing the Fair Theater lease with Star.
I didn't put the lease on here. I just wanted to kind of talk to you about what they're interested in doing. So right now their lease ends on March 31st. Of course, we have deferred their monthly payment due to the COVID because they're not putting any shows on right now. But I did talk to him this week, and they are interested in a 5-year deal. They would like us to consider reducing that fee to $200 a month I'll say that, the Fair Theater, they've done a lot of work to the interior of that theater, especially behind stage and so forth, and putting in a new bathroom back there and everything. It's, they've done a lot of work as renters. They, in my opinion, have made it better there. And I think we get a good return on our investment with them. They provide a service to the community that it would be hard for us to duplicate. Anyway, that's my opinion, but I can work on a lease and bring that back to you if you're willing to do that. If not, if you still want to do the 300, we can do that. If you want to go to 200, or some of the suggesting nothing, but I don't know if we can go to nothing or not. But $200 a month is $2,400 a year.
Yeah, and that's good for a 5-year period. That's good to have it tied up for that.
Well, that's the one thing I wonder about, whether we'd want to do that for 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the 3-year lease might be more in line.
Okay.
Mayor, I agree with you on the 3-year.
All right.
So, you're going to
Why-
talk with them and get back.
Yes, sir.
Why,
I'll talk to
why,
them and get back to you.
why is that? Can y'all explain it to me?
I just think 5 years is a long time to tie up that property. So I'm not, the 200 a month doesn't bother me, but I think to tie it up for 5 years, that's a long time.
Do you have the current agreement available, Bob?
I can put it in the packet next week. I can update the agreement and in the
I
packet.
know that we had talked about maybe, having a little bit more ability to use it if we needed to. And of course, I mean, we're not going to come in if we have, if they're wanting to use it, that's fine. But if there was something that we needed to use it for as well, I thought we had talked several months ago about maybe looking into us being able to, use our property as well.
Well,
on
right now we use that property for court, and they've set up court in there every time. They don't have a problem doing it. They fix it up for us, and then we come in and take care of it. Of course, they haven't had any shows, so the last 9 months they haven't had to fix it up since actually last March was their last show. It looked like an old movie where, the end of the world movie, when they still had March up there in December, on the marquee. So we finally took the marquee down and put, welcome to Somerville on there. But, they're more than accommodative for us to do that.
Okay.
As far as running movies in there and stuff like that, if we wanted to, I guess we could do that. We could time it with them. We could do that at some point, and I'm sure they'd be more than happy to allow us to do that. If I'm not sure the screen is in good enough condition to run a movie in there, but
Yeah.
People tell me all the time that they miss having the country music things,
Right.
for a night or two.
Right.
Are you saying, but
with music in the park, we only do that X amount of months of the year due to the weather. I think if we're able maybe to move something inside there, maybe we can coordinate with Star and still maybe be able
maybe
to
have something 2 or 3 times a year in there, some
Okay.
kind of music.
I would just like to see us be able to utilize it if, either the music or a movie or anything. I don't want to just cut us out to where we cannot use it except for maybe court or something like that.
So
But,
what I can do is I'll work on some language and send it to Tom about adding that language to allow us to go in there and use it
Yeah.
2 or 3, 4 times a year. And
But
then
I don't want them thinking that we're just going to come in and tell them what to do, because
No.
I mean they have been pretty good to us on keeping the property, as you just said, and I agree with Ronnie. I mean, if everybody else does too, as far as the 200 a month, to show some appreciation, during the COVID stuff, and just helping them out.
I think I would agree with that as well. But I also agree with Ronnie about the 5-year thing. I'd hate to tie it up for that amount of time too.
Right. So it would be availability. So if the thing's available, we could
Yeah.
use it. Right. So I'll work
Yeah.
on something. I can do that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, next item is item I, review quotes for the new front counter at Town Hall.
We talked to, well, Mendy, you want to talk about this, Mendy? Are you up for this?
Sure.
You still awake over
Yeah.
there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So we received the PEP grant. It's a matching grant. We must spend $4,000 and they will match it by $4,000. This was a property conservation grant. And we've got some other workability issues behind the counter as well. So for the grant, we requested an ADA safe counter. We went in, we requested 5 companies' quotes. We only received 2 from the 5 companies. One of those is the Birmingham Cabinets, and they are actually in Fayette County, and they were super responsive, and I was very impressed. They came in, they were the only ones that came in, took measurements, and knew exactly what we were wanting. It came in a little bit higher than I expected. We also requested some glass quotes. Bulletproof glass was going to be an additional $12,000. So obviously that is not on there. We would like to move forward, if the board approves, to with the actual design of this currently. This is basically what it would look like. The front of it, we are going to keep the same woodwork that is there now, so it will be kind of cohesive with everything that goes, you know, the what is it, chair rail, I think is what you would call it, or paneling, or, you know, whatever you want to say. But it would be a more workable counter as well for the ladies back there. I would like to, if possible, Fayette County, at the courthouse and at the library, they've had some glass work done by Fayette County Glass, and get a separate quote from them once the cabinet is built. Obviously, the price of this cabinet as it stands now is right at our threshold of the grant pricing. When I did write the grant, I did say that we would be installing some sort of security barrier for COVID, as well as for security of theft. I don't know how the board would want to proceed with that. And again, I don't have a price. I know on the lower end, it would be between $3,500, and like I said, on the higher end with bulletproof glass and all of that, it would be $12,000. So I figured we would probably go on the lower end with COVID going on and all of that as well. So it's kind of a twofold deal. This grant, I do have to have it completed by May 1st. So, you know, if the board approves, we could go ahead and hire the company to begin ordering whatever they need to install the cabinet only.
And then we can solicit quotes for the glass later on.
Yes. Well, I would start that as soon as we hired the cabinet
As soon as possible. Yeah.
maker. Right.
I sure hope I don't have to buy any cabinets anytime soon.
Well, they're
I
going to be
understand.
doing a lot of work behind the counter also. This isn't really a complete representation of what we measured out, but we're extending this counter so that we can put a computer on it, which right now, if you've been to City Hall recently, the computer sits up here on the front counter. It kind of gets in the way. We're going to move it over here and get it off the front counter. So there'll be some extra work on this side of the counter too.
As well as a
new
behind the scenes
countertop type things. Yes, and a new countertop on all of those areas, so it'll look brand new in the front.
Let me ask you, Bob, did y'all, or Mindy, did y'all contact the cabinet guy in Williston?
What's his name? I don't know.
I can't remember.
Randy Beckwith.
Surely somebody know. Is that who it is?
Yeah, Randy Beckwith.
Okay,
Do
he's
you know
down
the
there
name?
on 76.
Do you know the name of the company or how I would get in contact with them?
Well,
I'll text you his number.
Okay.
Okay.
I know he did our cabinets on Ivy and he was very reasonable.
Okay. Yeah, all of the ones that I contacted are right there on the on that presentation.
Yeah. Well,
So we
I
tried to
couldn't
do is,
remember his name, so I didn't know if that was one of them or not. But
yeah.
I remember he was good.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, Mike, if you've got his information, I'll be happy to contact him.
I'll text it to you.
Okay.
Okay, we'll put that on the agenda for Monday night. Discuss draft of the agenda for the annual board retreat.
Right. I put it in the packet. I've been working on this a little bit. I tweaked it just a little bit, rearranged. It's the same things, just rearranged in a little different order. So I don't know how far in the weeds we want to get with the budgeting part of that. It's up to you guys. We can bring Mark back to help us with it if you want. I'm just kidding. Sorry. You know, I'm sure that I would be just as dry as Mark was.
Bless his heart. Bless
Yeah.
his little heart.
But you know, I know that's what it gets like when I start talking about this stuff to people. So, you know, I can be a lot briefer with it. You know, describing the O&M budget and all that stuff, and where we are with all of our equipment and vehicle rotation. I have all that ready to go. I just need to kind of know, you know, the direction you guys want to go in, so we can get finished. I have a lot of the data already ready to go on my end. And there's some other stuff we would like to work on. I just, you know, we just need to get some direction, I think, from the board. And maybe you can think about it this week and we can talk about it again on Monday. What do you think, Mayor?
I think that'd be fine. We're talking March the 13th.
13th, yes, sir.
Yeah, we've got 4 or 5 weeks to.
Yeah. 5 weeks from Saturday.
Okay, any thoughts from the board on this? This will be subject to tweaking up until the final day. So.
And you know, it's going to also depend. I don't know if we can do that long of a meeting on Zoom. I think it will be hard to do. We may want to have a cut down version on Zoom. You know, just that's a long day. 8 hours on Zoom all day long. So
I thought we were going to do in person.
I think we are, but I don't think we have made that decision yet. Is that correct?
Oh, okay.
We haven't.
Yes.
I misunderstood.
See where the
I
numbers
did too.
are.
I thought we were meeting.
Yeah, I think we have the ability to put each person on a 5-foot folded table, you know, one of those white tables that you get at Sam's, you know, the little fold ones.
Yeah.
Everybody can have their own table and be separated pretty easily, I believe. I think we have probably are laying around town 20 of those tables between the fire department and at the center right now. We have a bunch of those tables.
I've got about 10 8-foots. If we really want to social distance.
Yeah, we really want to get far apart. But then we could do it all on the big screen, which actually might be nice rather than that little screen in the conference room. So.
Okay, if everybody would look this schedule over and see if there are things that you don't think we need or that you want to add to that. And then we'll go from there.
Okay.
Have we decided on a day yet?
That would be the 13th.
13th, isn't it?
Yeah.
March the 13th.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
forgot. Mary, you weren't there last time, Jason. I forgot to let you know. Sorry.
That's okay. They'll give me plenty of time to plan for it.
Review a letter from Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Yes,
go
Mayor,
ahead.
this was the grant that you sent to me last week. Basically, it was for COVID information, COVID marketing. I think it was basically just to help communities roll out the vaccine. Now, obviously, we don't have anything to do with the actual process of vaccination, but we have kind of become the resource for COVID. In just this last 30 days, we've had over 400 people sign up for our direct emails just because of the information we are putting out. I get questions and phone calls daily regarding this information, when and where and how and who and all of those things. So this letter is kind of a prerequisite for applying for the grant. I've completed the grant. I would only be requesting, I believe, $3,500. And that $3,500, all that would do is pay for our Constant Contact subscription, which we do anyway, as well as some online social media advertising, things like that. We would be doing the same exact thing that we're doing now with the direct emails and the ads on social media and things like that. But it would also include some of my time to pay me to do this as well. So obviously, Town of Somerville would, receive this $3,500, and it would just compensate, since we're kind of doing a service to the community. When I saw the contract, I told Bob, I said, this obviously needs to be, looked over by either Tom or the board or whomever before I went ahead and applied for it.
So I would say have Tom look it over and then we can go from there.
Yes, sir.
Mandy, thank you for your information. I got my first Moderna shot today.
Good. Glad to hear it.
Well, I'm still waiting. I signed up online. I'll never do that again.
You're not old enough, Ronnie.
Yes, I am.
That's it.
He's just barely, he barely.
I've had my first shot too.
Good.
Get my
Okay.
second one in 2 weeks.
Well, Mayor, you had 5 waiting lists in front of you, but I'm thinking that hopefully they were out of vaccines Monday. So I know they didn't do anything Monday, and I think they're down a couple of employees. So I'm hopefully you'll get a call this week.
I hope so.
Yes, sir.
You talking about from the health department?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
Is that where you had yours, Sandra?
Uh-huh. Health department.
Okay.
Sure did. And they were smooth as silk.
Good.
I got it at 4:00 in the afternoon on a Thursday. The phone rang, and they wanted to know if we could be there right now. And I said, we'll get in the car and be there. And we were the third car. It did not take any time.
Good.
It was smooth.
Good.
And then you have to pull over for 15 minutes afterwards to be sure you're not going to have a reaction.
Right.
I got mine today and it was very easy. They did a good job.
Smooth and good, yeah. Did you get yours at the health department?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Well,
I believe
I got Pfizer. Pfizer's what they gave us, and you got the other one, right?
Yeah, I got Moderna.
Yeah. I I guess they take whatever they can get.
I know
Uh,
people that are waiting for the Johnson and Johnson one.
Are they still using fitware?
Yeah,
Yes,
Fayette
sir.
Wares.
Okay, I think we can thank the chief for a lot of that.
Yes, you can.
Thank you, chief, for getting that. I think where y'all had suggested to them to start with, wasn't it?
I'm fairly certain it is because he and I had a conversation
Yes, sir.
about
It
that
was.
before. Yeah, there he is.
We contacted the director at the of the state health department, along with Ron Gant and Paige Wally, and they were instrumental in getting that moved to Fayette Ware as a much more efficient and safer location for everyone. I drove by there today and there wasn't even a line. You can even see it from the front of the Fayette Ware. So it's working out well.
Thank you for working on that.
Yes, sir.
I've got a question for Mindy.
Yes, sir.
Talking about the Blue Cross Blue Shield, what happened to our the deal with the park?
We applied for it. We applied for it in October, and mid-January, we got the letter that we were not selected.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you reapply for
unfortunately.
that?
Yeah, every year.
Okay. Eventually we'll get it.
Well,
Hope
they'll
so.
just get sick of hearing from us, I think. Hopefully that'll work, maybe.
That could work.
You never know.
Yeah.
It took us 4 years to get the Death Triangle grant, so you never know.
You know, the squeaky wheel.
Oh, we
Right.
don't have a cantilevered thing for our stoplight.
Yes, ma'am. We're going to have the masthead stoplight
Yeah.
signal things. Right.
Yeah, that's
Right.
going to be wonderful.
We're gonna be uptown.
Is that A2H or is that TLM
Yes, sir. That's A2H.
for the traffic signals?
The traffic signal is A2H, and the sidewalk to the center is TLM again.
Okay.
What? Oh, I hate acronyms.
It's engineering firms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, TLM. I don't know what that stands for. A2H, I think, is probably the three guys, right? Harcourt and Ed Hargraves and Harcourt, and I don't know what the A is.
Askew.
Askew, yeah.
TLM was actually 3 people that started that, but none of them are still there.
Right.
Okay. Public safety review monthly fire stats.
These are the fire stats for this month. I did receive the updated delayed response calls for December and January, but that was today, so I didn't get them in the packet. So they'll be on next month's agenda. I mean, next month's packet. But the calls are holding steady. And I did verify that the reason why there are no other calls at nursing homes and doctor offices is because we're not going inside. So we're not counting those as calls because we don't actually go inside the building on those because of COVID. So
do we still run and we just stand
yeah, we
out?
just stay outside in case we're needed. Yes, sir.
I think we probably should still count them even if we don't go inside. I mean, if we're still running on the call,
yep,
that I think we still count that.
I think they're just putting it in the other stat. I think he's just including it in
whatever category they put it in. They still need to count it that way for future reference of how many calls that we are making in case we apply for grants and stuff like that. It'll show the actual number, whether it's in a other column or fire call, whatever column it is, it'll still count the runs.
Yes, sir.
So please make sure because that'll help out if we apply for grants for certain things in the future.
Okay.
Okay, police stats, chief.
Yes, sir. If y'all have any questions regarding the stats, I'll be glad to answer them for you. And for some reason, I'm not able to get mine to pull up now. So give me just a minute here.
How has how's everything been over, I guess, last holiday since, this, I mean, it's like burglary or theft been up or anything? They're still pretty much the same.
Pretty much the
Hopefully it's
same.
going down.
Right. Pretty much the same.
Okay, so it
Fortunately.
hadn't been any at least any increase in it, right?
No, sir.
Okay, good deal.
Okay, does anybody have any questions about that? All right, next item is the monthly report, Chief.
Yes, sir. Let me see if I can get that open here. The month of January 2nd, we had the Sea of Blue honoring Sergeant McCarley. January 3rd was his Celebration of Life service, which his wife did an incredible job on. It's very nice. And I appreciate the mayor coming out and the other folks and the other aldermen that did come out. We do appreciate it very much. This month has been a challenge for the department as quite a few of the officers have had COVID. I've been cautious not to attend most meetings that people are having that I normally attend, that are community type meetings. The ones I can that do offer it on Zoom, I attend it via Zoom. I'd like to thank all the officers at both full-time and part-time that have stepped up and taken up the slack since we were shorthanded due to COVID. Also, Officer DePriest Salto were promoted to supervisory positions. We begin an in-service training schedule for this new calendar year, developing that. And we've also received our certification for our new use of force policy from the state of Tennessee and Tennessee Chiefs of Police Association. The certification shows that we meet the preferred standard of the federal and state government consensus. January 26th, we met with Heather McCarley, Daryl's wife, to transfer belongings to Sergeant McCarley, such as we retired his duty weapon, his service weapon, and she was able to get that along with his badge and his sergeant stripes and things that I believe that she valued, as she knew they meant a lot to Daryl. Myself and Bob are going to be meeting with her next week. She has some ideas of some things she would like to do to possibly honor Daryl in the future. So we look forward to that meeting and hearing from her. Y'all have any questions?
How many part-time officers do you have?
2, we have Sam Wolf and Brooke Ferris Conley.
I thought she quit.
No, she only went part-time.
Oh, I thought
She
I
never
thought.
stopped working for us. She's continued to work for us the whole time.
Okay.
She just working part-time now.
Oh, okay. What would it take for you to get some more part-time officers?
Well, we need full-time officers. We're basically needing one. We need to fill one position. Right now, with what we have, that would be adequate coverage.
Well, the reason why I'm asking is, with COVID, even if you had full staff, even with COVID, I
I'd just like to, see your department be able to, call someone in to maybe fill that person's position. If they're out for a couple of weeks being
Sure.
quarantined,
Right.
And-
That's what we've done with, for instance, Officer Ferris Conley came in and filled in quite a bit while some of the guys were out. And of course, myself and Harlan, we can adjust the schedule or we cover shifts and move people around to take up slack. So that's so far so good.
Okay.
David,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
I,
Go
I
on.
just, I just know that, even if you're full, just like with the fire department, there's only four full-time guys, including the chief. If one of them guys gets sick, you either have to get the full-time guy to cover, or if we have any part-time guys over there, I'd just like to see both of those departments be able to cover the shifts that we need with our part-time people on, both departments.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's already gone through the fire department, so I don't think we have to worry about that for the time being.
Judy, did you have something?
Yeah, I was gonna suggest, David, that maybe do a memorial plaque for Daryl McCarley in the when the police department is redone.
Oh, absolutely. Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
or maybe name the training room or something after him. Yeah, that'd be a good
well,
idea.
we don't have to name it after, but a nice plaque would be nice in there
Right. I agree.
when that building's done.
Yeah, we can do that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because he was a true asset to the force.
Yes,
He
ma'am.
would.
Good idea, Judy.
Oh, I'm sure it's been thought of before.
2D is review the quote to purchase 6 tasers.
Chief, you want to do that?
Sure. We checked with our single source provider as the Gulf States distributors there who have the contract for the state of Tennessee. And the quote is interesting in that tasers require a battery pack and cartridges, and they're sold separately from the taser. So that's why you see the two different quotes there. And what that'll do is that'll update our current inventory of tasers, and it will give enough that everyone would actually have one at all times that would be working.
How many shots does the taser have?
You can either get them with one cartridge or two, and the two cartridge is not an optimal situation. There's too many things you're having to do as an officer to operate that taser to get 2 rounds out of it, and we choose the single cartridge. So you could basically the single cartridge, if it stayed in the subject, would work 5 different times.
It will. So you get 5 shots out of it.
Right, 5 applications, even though the projectile doesn't come out 5 times, but you get 5 applications out of it. And normally you never have to go that if the prongs are in well, you normally don't have to go that long. Usually it's just one, and usually, honestly, it's just letting them know that you have it, that it, if you needed to use it, you have it, and that helps deter a lot of times, if at all possible. And of course, we always attempt to talk people into us not having to use any type of non-lethal force or force at all, if at all possible.
Well, the only reason I say that is because of course, Mike's family was always in the liquor business. And
Right.
whenever someone robbed the liquor stores, they were usually on drugs. And where they're
Sure.
on drugs, it takes a lot more than one to knock them down.
Right.
That's why I was
That,
asking to protect y'all.
right. Yeah. And that is the case sometimes. It depends on what they're on. And it's odd that you can have two different people on the same thing and it affects them in different ways. But as far as the cartridge goes, say if we had to switch out and put another cartridge in, it only takes a few seconds.
Okay, okay,
Right.
that's what I'm, because I do know one of the stores was robbed and the felon was shot 3 times in the stomach and kept coming at him.
Mm,
So I
right.
know what the drugs can do.
Sure.
And that's why I worry about y'all.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. The taser's life expectancy is approximately 5 years, and it goes longer than that if they've been well maintained and taken care of. And I think the 5 years comes in to that's usually the window that their technology starts to change.
Oh, okay.
The Taser Corporation, and at that point, they for the most part no longer repair them past that time frame if you try to send one in for repairs. And this particular quote here does include a total 5-year warranty. You have 1 year warranty normally, but we're wanting to purchase the extra warranty, which would give us the 4 additional years.
Okay. Well, okay.
Okay, we'll move that to the board.
Thank you.
Review the competitive quotes for 5 sets of turnout gear.
Yes, sir. So Jeremy put these quotes together, and we are suggesting that we purchase the EVS fire decks for $1773.53 each, for a total of $8867.65. This was a budgeted item. We budgeted $12,000 as part of a grant. We did not receive the grant money, but we still have the funds allocated in the budget for this purchase. For actually more than for this purchase, but so
Okay, any
sorry.
questions on that? All right, move that forward to the board. Review building permit stats, permits issued and inspections made.
Wow.
6 new building starts, housing starts this month. And that was only through the 20th of January. So I don't know where it is now. I think I got 3. Yeah, we got 3 more last week too, but I'm not sure. And then we have, of course, more permits you issue, the more it costs you to get everything inspected. And then this is the code enforcement, and it's kind of light right now. So because we're on half staff, so Stacy only gets to go out, twice a month instead of 4 times. But in the winter, there's not as many things going on anyway, no grass and that kind of stuff. But she still did manage to find or continue to do 16 violations. 7 of those violations have been resolved this month.
Any questions on that? Let me find my place again and I'll.
Community Development Director's report.
Okay.
Yes, sir. As I stated, we had quite a few people sign up for our direct email. We did spend a lot of time trying to get the information out about vaccines. Obviously, that's very important to the community as a whole. The 6th, Mike and Mayor hosted the Ron Gant video conference. That went fairly well. We're looking at doing that again. We don't have a set date right now just because Ron was BL, his assistant, said that, times are a little bit crazy right now. They're not really sure what their schedule is going to be, but we are looking at doing that within the 6 to 8 week period. So we'll just keep up on that. We did get I got a great email from the Tennessee Tourism. I don't know if you'd call it a board or the council or whatever. They saw our video for the Tennessee's Open. They requested that, or they said that they would like to feature the town of Somerville as one of their pages for West Tennessee. So we went through, wrote a blurb and a couple of paragraphs about a few interesting places, including, the gallery, which, we just basically said will open, soon. I didn't give a date or a time. Soon in this day and age could be 2 years from now. So God only knows.
Farmers Hardware would be interesting.
Yes, we put Farmers Hardware, Tennessee Pewter, a couple of restaurants, things like that.
Good.
She might have to cut it down from what I took, but she basically was thrilled and spoke to her Monday. So that was good. Let's see, we dealt with the cabinet a little bit. We have started the VC3 security, online security and server security process. So in probably this month, by the end of this month, we will have a full report to give to you about our server security. So that process has started. Was contacted by Don Wright. He is the developer of the Bluff Creek subdivision. The second phase, he is interested in selling that to another developer. So we've got that on our website, as well as I have the information in my brain. So and we do get calls from developers, not daily for sure, but every once in a while. So it's good to kind of have that Rolodex in my brain. We also had a new property owner purchased a large plot of land. He is not in the in town of Somerville city limits. He wanted to discuss that, find out about possibly annexing that. That's kind of on hold right now. But obviously that would come to you all once they kind of figure out what they want to do.
Where is that property?
It's the property right above hedgerows. It's, I forget how many acres. I think it's over 100 acres, isn't it, Bob?
It's 234 acres or 235.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's quite a bit. And so it's on either side of that road. So
Karcher Road.
thank you. I'm not good with
That's okay.
directions and things like that.
Not the Turley land, is it?
No,
No, it's
Montague
yeah, go
property.
ahead.
It's
Who?
the Montague property.
Who?
Montague property.
Oh, okay.
That's owned by Montagues, or was owned by Montagues.
Oh, okay. Oh, I
And-
know where it is.
Yeah,
So-
just right above it.
It's on the other side. It's on the west side of Karcher.
Mm-hmm.
The
Right,
Turley property's on the right. When you go down that crook in the road,
right.
Turley's right, and the Montague property's on the left. And then further north, there's some more of the Montague property on the right hand, on the east side of the property. I mean, east side of Karcher also.
Okay,
It's about 2/3 on the west side and 1/3 on the east side.
okay.
But
Completed some of the written policy that's requested for ransomware insurance, just to kind of tighten that up to make sure. We'll also take those policies and give those to VC3 to say, hey, does this look in line with what we need to do if something did happen?
I really think that VC3 is going to do a better job than the last company we had.
I think so too.
They seem a whole lot more organized.
And they're larger.
And they're larger, yeah.
So, but those are the major things that happened this month. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, would something like BC3 be able to do something about the guy that hacked us tonight?
No, that's really on Zoom. He
Yeah,
got in
that,
through
Oh.
Zoom. He didn't get in
Okay.
through our server.
yeah,
Okay,
that's Zoom. And that's one of the good things about Zoom is it's not on our server. So,
okay.
but yeah,
I didn't know if it was because the computers were on our, but Zoom's
No,
different from
I
our
believe
computer.
no, it's not on our server, so he can't
I
get
don't
ours.
understand all that, so thank
Yeah.
you.
What would you attribute the picking up the 400 new email? What would that come from, you think?
so basically what I did was when they finally started to actively roll out the vaccine schedules, and they've got the state has put together a couple of interesting ways to see, hey, what phase am I in? I basically took one of our constant contact emails, posted that to social media, and then paid about $2 a day for 5 days to promote that. And I targeted about a 30-mile radius from Somerville, because it is information that people are interested in. And I could not believe how much response, because to be honest, we get probably 10 to 15 messages at least a week. Some of them are about the vaccine. Some of them are new residents of Somerville asking, questions. But I really think that's what it was from. It was just basically I might have paid $20 for 5 days, but it was under $25, and I could not believe we got that much response.
And where were those? Could you tell where they were from?
No. I mean, the only thing that they really tell me is the name, first and last name, and their email addresses. They don't give me a range. I know I was only advertising to a 30-mile radius, but if people are sharing that information, it could be certainly outside of that range too.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Planning Commission report?
So we went ahead and we had a couple of, Nicholas Place is going to be replatted. I do have the plats in my office. We're going to get them registered at the registrar's office on Thursday. They've been, as soon as George gets here to sign them, I'm hoping he's coming tomorrow to sign them. We reviewed updated the preliminary plat for Hedgerow subdivision. Hedgerow subdivision has 5 additional phases. Right now, they've been out there surveying. I believe they are going to bring back a construction plan for phases 2 and 3 and half of phase 5, which is about 100 homes when you add them all up, 100 lots. So then we'll have to go through that process, creating the development contract with them and putting the whole thing together. So it's possible that by the end of the year or so, they could be building homes on phases 2 through 2 and 3 and half of 5. Both of those have an exit. Phase 3 has an exit onto Watson Drive, which goes right next to our firehouse, and phase 2 has an exit onto Karcher Road. So there'll be 2 additional entrances into hedgerows once they get completed with those phases. So,
Where is 4?
4 goes back more towards Glengarry Estates, more closer to your house.
Okay,
That goes further west. Actually, I think 4 is on the other side of 3, which is kind of south and west, and then 5 and 6 go further west, almost would have connected to Glengarry if Mr. Fowler had maintained ownership of that property and developed it. It would have eventually connected to Glengarry, which, at some point in the future probably will come around again.
okay,
But right now that there's a gap because it's no longer there's a piece of property that's no longer in the possession of the Fowlers.
Who
So
owns that now?
I think it's Mr. Dandridge owns that property.
Oh, okay. He bought it from Fowler?
Yes,
Okay.
probably, I'm going to say 4 years ago, probably right before all the buildings started. So when he bought it, there was one house in the subdivision. So now
Okay.
completely
That
built
was a
out.
wise decision.
Well, unfortunate for Mr. Fowler because all of a sudden everything started happening. So, but he didn't know that at that time,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, I would say within the last 4 years, last 3 years, really, things have dramatically changed in town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, ordinance 2021-002, an ordinance to rezone 3 properties owned on Jernigan Drive to multifamily. This would be the second reading, except we're going to have to continue that. Did you talk to the developers or?
Yes, they're ready to go for the 25th.
Or the 25th?
Yes, they're
Okay.
going to be here on February the 25th.
Okay, we'll need to have a special called meeting on February the 25th to consider that.
Yes, sir.
We will have a public hearing, and then what time are you planning that?
I was considering 7 o'clock, just like usual.
Okay, do we have are enough board members committed to be in there?
I've only spoken to Judy and Sandra and I guess Jason, no, Mike. So I haven't spoken to you. I think you're available, but everybody else is here. They can just let us know if they're available.
I should be available on that day.
Okay. James?
Day are we talking about?
Possibly.
Okay. James, I'm calling. It would be Thursday, February 25th at 7 o'clock.
I should be available. Let me just check my calendar. Yes, available.
Okay. So James, of course, pending whatever happens, in your business, but you'd mark it down on your calendar if you're available. That'd be great.
Yes.
All right, so that'll be on February the 25th at 7 p.m.
Yes, yes, sir. And I'm going to guarantee that I get the right day of the week on there this time.
We will, all right, so that's.
And that's going to be a 7 o'clock Zoom meeting.
Yes, it'll be Zoom.
Okay, we'll first have to have a public hearing on that rezoning, and then we can vote on the second reading or the final hearing.
Yes, sir.
Final reading.
Yes, sir.
Will that be Monday?
Well,
No,
we
it's
can't
that meeting.
Monday. We had advertised a public hearing, so if anyone shows up, we will certainly hear from them, but we're going to have to re-advertise the public hearing for that night, the 25th at 7.
Okay. Okay.
So we'll have 2 things on the agenda. We'll have a public hearing, and then we'll have consideration of the second reading of the rezoning ordinance.
Okay.
4A, Public Works, we've done. And then we have another agenda here somewhere, if I can find it.
Yes, sir. Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
All right, we have review the proprietary purchase of 101 R275 gas meters for $10,423.20.
Yep. Where we needed, I think it was only 2 or 3 months ago that we just bought another 100. So
Yeah.
like Jeep said, they're going, pretty quickly. So we need another 100 now. We're down to, I think, 35 at the moment.
Okay, and then we have the additional proprietary purchase of 100 ERTs for meters.
Yes, sir. And those other 30 ERTs are for the larger meters. So the 415 meters. So we need those two.
Okay, so we can put that on the consent agenda, both of those.
Yes, sir.
C is discuss the name of the new fire station.
So, I mean, we may not have to decide that tonight, but I know Chief Kell wants to call it Station 1 and Station 2. But don't we need like Somerville Station, Fire Station 1 and Somerville Fire Station 2 or something like that? But they always have referred to it as Station 1 and Station 2 is what he said.
Okay,
But do we want to, we may want to think about that a little bit.
yeah,
Was
I've
that-
been on Zoom since 3:30. Let's think through that one.
Okay.
What about the Ronnie Neal? I don't want to say Memorial Fire
I
Station.
would, yeah, let's not even talk about that. 5D is review the competitive quotes for repairing and replacing the HVAC unit in the lobby of Fair Theater.
Right. So either replace or repair. So there's a 2.5 ton train unit that's in the Fate Theater. It looks like I spelled at the top of this thing. I don't know why I did that. I made a typo there. But anyway, we're suggesting that we use Rushing Mechanical to replace the 2.5 ton train unit at the Fair Theater. And this is within the budget of our Fair Theater allotment for allowance for repairs and maintenance to the theater.
Okay, any comments on that?
How old is that old unit?
20 something years old. It's the,
Oh, I say replace it.
yeah,
Replace it.
but you're talking about half of the cost to replace it, to repair it. And you'll still have a 25-year-old
Right.
air conditioner.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with Miss Judy. We got 25 years out of it now. We can get 25 years out of the new one.
And we'll all be gone by then. So.
That's right. We won't have to worry about it.
I
We
hope,
won't have to
I
worry
hope
about
not,
that one.
Miss Judy. I'm sorry, but I hope
Well,
not.
I know we could all live. We could still be on the board at 105. So,
Well,
you know,
Colin's definitely going to be around by then.
Colin will definitely. He'll have to deal with it then.
Hey, I'm still young too.
Well, I guess, Jason.
I was the youngest until he got elected. So,
Right.
But now you're not the youngest.
no, ma'am, not anymore.
All right, if you would put that on the consent agenda.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else? All right, if not, then we'll see everybody Monday night at 7.
Okay. Thank you.
And
See y'all Monday.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Night, everybody.
Have fun, Judy.
have a
I
good.
will. I will.
Okay. Okay. Bye.
Bye.